Hey everybody, it's Michael. Welcome back to another Demon Souls video. So this is the Demon Souls remake on PS5, and today we're going to be taking down the Adjudicator boss fight in World and Archstone 4-1 on the PlayStation 5. And this boss fight is significantly easier than the Flame Lurker, and I did do a previous video on my guide on how to defeat the Flame Lurker in 2-2 and also how to defeat the Armored Spider in 2-1 if you guys would like to check it out. And I also did do video reviews on Spider-Man Miles Morales and Assassin's Creed Valhalla with some pretty great PS5 gameplay if you guys want to check that out as well. And it really isn't that hard to make those games look great. They just look and run really good on the new system. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with this game visually, especially this Archstone here in 4-1. You can see the detail and the red flags, and if you look up into the sky, you can see the lightning kind of reflect off the clouds. It just looks really cool. So on the way to the boss, you just want to be aware of these skeleton guys. They can do a lot of damage, and they're really aggressive, so you just kind of got to stay back and know the right time to strike, and just throw that shield up. Just do make sure you have your endurance bar full. Otherwise, they will break right through it and do a lot of damage. And while the Adjudicator is easier than some prior bosses in the game, you definitely don't want to take it lightly. Just make sure you have a lot of grasp because it can do a lot of damage, this boss. So here we are just running through this really cool castle-looking courtyard. So you just want to head this way towards the left and go through this doorway here. And it may have been fogged up before this, but for now I just run right back through. And be aware of these guys here. We just got a few more skeletons. A couple of them even have these bows where they launch these bows of light. And if you also look up into the sky, you can see these stingray looking guys kind of launch these blue and green shards at you. And these can do a lot of damage, so just make sure you have kind of a perception of where these stingrays are so that you don't get hit. For this boss fight, I decided to go with the Knight Shield and the Crescent Falchion. That's definitely a combination that's been doing well for me my very first time through this game. So once you get to this part here where you stand on this switch, you just want to run really fast, as you can, because it will launch arrows from behind you that can kill you. So just make sure you run quickly there so that you don't have to start back at the Archstone. And at this point, we just want to run up the side of this cliff here. Watch out for this bigger guy with the cleaver. These guys can do a ton of damage. Definitely have been having a lot of trouble with them in 4-2, where I currently am trying to get to the boss in that section. And again, just avoid the stingray rays of light that are coming from the sky, and avoid that guy. I think in this case, I kind of just run by them, which you can get away with sometimes, but you definitely want to be careful because they can run back from behind you and flank you. So if you are going to ignore enemies in these areas, you just want to make sure that you're constantly moving. And again, now we just want to go down here this way, and there's just one enemy in front of the fog gate that you want to take out, or maybe even ignore like I did. And here we are with the Adjudicator guys, so let's get right into this. And this boss does have one major weakness. So you'll see here, you see kind of a blade. It looks kind of like a razor blade sticking out of his side, his big gut. You really just want to hack away at that, so that's his weakness. And again, I'm sure you can beat him differently using magic or ranged attacks, but if you want to do it melee like I did with the Knight, you just want to hack away at the left side of his body there. And it's funny, I know I mentioned in some of the prior videos in World 2 that some of the enemies reminded me of Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but this guy here just reminds me completely of Jabba the Hutt. Just a really funny reference there, just a really violent version of him, you could say, and maybe even some infection coming out from his head. So this part also kind of reminds me of like a Resident Evil boss. So once you hack away at that side enough and get him down, you really just want to go to work on that golden eagle that has implanted itself in his brain. That's his weak spot. But before you can get to that in the melee based way, at least that I'm doing the fight, you do have to make sure that you just hack away at that left hand side and get him down first. And his swipes can do a lot of damage, so if you ever get hit, or if he does slam the sword thing he has down on you, you just want to make sure that you have the grass ready to go and you can heal, because he can also kind of back you into these corners like you're seeing here. You just want to make sure that doesn't happen, and you just avoid his stronger attacks and just stay away from the front of him and just get to that left hand side and just keep hacking away so that you can knock him down again. Another thing I think is awesome about this fight is you just see the pools of blood on the ground, and you don't know if that's his blood that you're spilling out or if it's someone he's killed blood that dropped into here from earlier. You just don't really know. And now that I see it, it's kind of reminding me of like a Lickitung, his massive tongue coming out of his face. So Lickitung reference, Jabba the Hutt. Maybe let me know in the comments down below what you think the Adjudicator looks like. And again, this guy does do a lot of damage, so I did equip the Cling Ring, and I've definitely found that I've made that a habit in terms of one of the rings that I've been equipping lately, just to get that extra health in soul form. So you see here I have 3/4 of my health when full instead of half when you have the Cling Ring equipped. So knocked him down again, just keep slashing away at that eagle, his weak spot. And this was definitely a simpler fight. He's not as aggressive, you can stay away from him more easily, and as long as you've come prepared with a lot of healing items and a decent melee weapon, it's definitely not too bad of a fight this way, as long as you just keep repeating and just stay away from his stronger attacks and just keep healing up. I found in this first playthrough for me of this game, having never played the original, that I definitely dodge a lot more than block, which is interesting because my first From game that I played through and beat was Sekiro, and that game was all about blocking and deflecting and timing. It was almost like a rhythm game, whereas I feel like this one is much more focused on dodging and just being evasive and avoiding just really strong attacks that can deplete your health bar like you just saw there. I also think it's interesting because apparently a lot of the bosses after the Flame Lurker, which is the tough one I just took down, are just much easier. So I thought it was interesting that they put just a really tough roadblock type of boss like the Flame Lurker towards the beginning to middle sections of the game. It definitely reminded me of the Genichiro fight in Sekiro. That game was a really tough fight, especially. I mean, that fight against Genichiro was definitely a roadblock for me. I spent a lot of time on that, and it definitely, the repetition in that fight made me improve the combat, kind of like the Flame Lurker did, in terms of just staying back and being evasive and knowing when to strike. I feel like this game is definitely a lot about timing, even if it's kind of a different type of timing. So whereas Sekiro's more like really precise time deflections, I feel like the timing in Demon Souls is all about knowing when to dodge and just staying on your toes and just really clearly reading the enemy boss's attacks. I think that is important to just make sure that you're keeping your distance and you're able to interpret when these stronger attacks are coming so that you can protect yourself. So my Knight's build in this game was really focused on strength, but now that I'm kind of defaulting to the Crescent Falchion, I think I'm going to start putting more of my leveling up and my skill points into endurance, because I feel like my endurance bar is a bit low, and I honestly feel like endurance is what you want in the game. You can just get a lot more hits in without tiring out, you can evade more. I feel like endurance is definitely the most important aspect of Demon Souls. And there we are, a few more hits on the Eagle. We vanquished this demon. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, to please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for a lot more Demon Souls content coming soon, and also other PlayStation games. And I also do run a single player podcast that goes live every Tuesday. The link is in the description if you'd like to check it out. But thank you so much, guys, and I hope this helped, and take care.